Hi, I'm Dr. David Dobson. Welcome to Conversations. Today, my guest is Dr. Marialuisa Restaino. Marialuisa is an associate professor of statistics at the Department of Economics and Statistical Sciences at the University of Salerno. She obtained her PhD in engineering economics of innovation from the same university. Today, we will discuss Marialuisa's graduate research and the future of statistics. It's a great pleasure to have you on my show, Marialuisa.
Thank you, David. Thank you for this kind invitation to conversing with you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me.
Marialuisa, in both your PhD and master's thesis, you analyze cluster data. Can you explain what cluster data is and why you were interested in studying cluster data?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about my first research project. Well, first of all, it is important to distinguish the term to clarify what clustering is referred to, because clustering should be associated with a statistical technique. In this case, we'll talk about cluster analysis. But sometimes we also talk about clustering when we have to look at how the data are collected.
Okay.
And in the first case, so when we talk about clustering as a statistical technique, well, in this case, clustering is an unsupervised learning technique used to uncover hidden structure in the data. And it is particularly useful when we have to look at the data and the researchers have to aggregate statistical units, for example, observation, individuals, firms, company, or whatever we want, into homogeneous groups. In this case, these groups are called clusters.
Okay.
In the second case, when we talk about clustering and we are refer at how the data are collected, so in this case we are talking about cluster data. Well, in this case, the units from the study are classified into several different groups. And in each cluster, so in each group, there are several observations with similar characteristics.
Okay.
And the analysis of cluster data should become more complex because the main characteristics of cluster data is that each cluster should contain many units and the units within the cluster are not independent.
Okay.
Okay, so the cluster data can arise from different scenarios. For example, in education, in this case, we can observe that the test score of students within different schools, for example, or in different universities also, or in different countries. In this case, the students within the same school or the same university may have similar performance according to some characteristics, okay? Or for example, also in healthcare studies. Okay. In this case, for example, we should interest in patient outcomes within different hospitals. Okay. In this case, the patient within the same hospital may have correlated health outcomes. Another example should be also, for example, in economics. In this case, the data to analyze are, for example, the employees' productivity within different firms. Or, for example, the productivity of firms within different districts. Okay? So this is only some examples, but we can have a very large number of possible examples. Okay, as I said before, analyzing this kind of data is very interesting because they have some characteristics that we have to consider. Given that the observation within a cluster are more alike, so observation within a cluster are correlated, and observation between clusters are not independent. Okay, this leads to the main characteristics of the cluster data, that is the correlation within clusters, that is so-called intra-cluster correlation. This means that the traditional methods that we can use, for example, when the units are independent, cannot be applied in this context. And so we have to modify the analysis in order to take into account that the units are not independent. Okay, so it is important to study cluster data in order to have accurate and also some very interesting insight into phenomena that we are going to analyze. So, for example, there are many different methods that we can consider when we have cluster data. For example, mixed effect models, generalized estimation equation, hierarchical models, clustering algorithm, or also spatial models, among the others. And the choice of the models, of the methods that we want to apply, depends on the nature of the data and also on the aim of the analysis that we want to perform, okay? This is just an introduction of cluster data, but it's quite complex.
Yeah, you made it very clear, about cluster data. So I want to ask you, for your research, for your thesis, you use survival analysis and multi-state model, which I think are time-varying methods commonly used in medical research. Can you share what these statistical models are and why you chose them for your cluster data?
Yes, first of all, I chose cluster data because my supervisor, Ong Shen Day, that now he is in Newcastle University, UK, was working on a research project and he was using this kind of data. And so he proposed me to analyze this kind of data. And for the aim of the project, we have to use the survival analysis in the first, for the master course project, okay? Then for the PhD thesis, we considered the multi-state models. First of all, we have to distinguish survival models and multi-state models, but multi-state models are usually considered as an extension of the survival analysis. It is not very easy to explain what survival analysis and multi-state models are, but I try to simplify, and especially I try to compare survival analysis with the logistic regression. So survival analysis, as you said, is the common term that is used for in medicine, but survival analysis can be also used in other contexts. For example, in economics, in engineering, or also in sociology, for example. And for example, if we look at engineering, it's called reliability analysis. Duration models or duration analysis is called when we have application in sociology or in economics. So, but the aim is the same. So we want to study the time until an event of interest occurs. And this kind of event should be the death of the failure or whatever we want to analyze. In some papers, as I told before, some authors try to compare the survival analysis and logistic regression. It's well known that logistic regression is characterized by a binary response variable. So the response variable that takes value 1 when the event of interest is occurred, so happens. But is time independent. So we don't analyze when the event happens, but only if it happens or not. So the aim is to analyze, to predict, to study, to estimate the probability that the event of interest happens. But instead, the question in the survival analysis is different. How long so the event of interest is the time at which the event could happen. Okay, so it is not if it happens, but also when.
Okay.
And so the main question is different because, for example, if we look at an application in medicine, the question should be, will a patient experience that disease? Okay, for example. Instead, in survival analysis, how long will it be until a patient experience that disease? So it's quite different. So when we, the main quantity in another characteristics for the survival analysis is also the censoring. Because during the study period, it should be happen that some people, some patient or some units could disappear without experience the event of interest. In this case, we don't know if and when these units experience this event, and they are called censored. So we have a missing information, and we have to treat this information in our estimation.
Okay.
But we have only one event of interest. In the multi-state models, we extend this response variable into more than one event. Okay? But in the multi-state models can be also different settings. Think about, for example, the illness-death model that is characterized by, for example, 3 different states. So by 3 different events: the initial state, an intermediate state, and a final state that is called absorbing state. And we studied the transition between these 3 different states. Another setting in the competing risk in the multi-state model is called the competing risk model. When we have only one initial state, but different final states. And we want to study the transition between the initial state and the set of possible final states. They are called absorbing states. So when I started my research, this is just an introduction, and then I want to describe also my experience. When I was in Lancaster during my PhD course, because I was in Italy for my PhD, but I spent some years in Lancaster, University of Lancaster in UK, my supervisor on Ancient Days suggested me to study multi-state models. He gave me a review of these models, and he said, please read, and if you like this topic, we can work on that. And so I read that review, and it was very fascinating for me, and I opted for studying that. Since during my master course in Lancaster with Ongsheng, I used the cluster data, we opted for combining cluster data and multi-state models. This was the first project.
Very nice. Very nice. So how would you describe your overall experience working this survival and then extension of survival to this multi-state model? How relevant they are in today, and obviously importance in medical research?
Yes, they are particularly relevant in medical research, even if sometimes it's not completely easy to have the data. Because I talk about Italian experience, maybe in Canada or in UK is completely different. But for example, it is not easy to collect the data due to the privacy. Okay, so sometimes we have only information without the possibility to observe the patient from the whole history of the patient. So we have just the information at a fixed time point. But it should be very important, but not only for the medicine, I also, for example, for education. Because as you know, sometimes we have the problem of dropping out. So the students that can leave university for some problems. And so it is important to study also their career.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not completely easy to collect the data for the survival analysis.
Yeah. So when I think of statistics, I think of tools like softwares. Like, are there any specific tools, software analysis tools do you use for your work?
Well, I use R.
Okay.
Mainly R.
Okay. Okay.
And all the libraries they are available in R. For example, for survival analysis, there is a library package called the Survival that have all the main quantities. And then for other, for example, since I'm also working on the variable selection for the competing risk models, for example, in that case, there are some libraries that can help in order to select the most relevant covariates for the competing risk model in that case, but also for the survival analysis.
Okay. So I want to ask you a hard question. With the advancement in computing power and algorithms, and now we have these sophisticated computing applications, is statistics still relevant today?
Well, the answer is absolutely yes. Statistics remain as relevant today as ever, and the advancement in the computing power and sophisticating algorithm, and also in the area of the big data, amplify its importance. Because it provides the fundamental principle and technique that underpin the modern data science and analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, in order to ensure that insights derived from the data are accurate, reliability, and so on. It is in particular crucial to understanding and also reading, so interpreting the data, developing and evaluating algorithms, and also eventually new softwares or dashboards for analyzing the data in real time and making informed decisions. And this is particularly relevant, for example, in medicine. Statistics helps manage data quality, assess risks, address ethical consideration, making it as indispensable tool in navigating the complexity of data-rich environment. We know that now we have a large data set, and sometimes it's also very complicated to analyze this data set due to our laptop, because it is not possible to use our laptop for doing some analysis. However, I think that there are different reasons in order to justify the importance of statistics. Just to think some of these possible reasons, first of all, we have the statistics is relevant for data interpretation and communication, understanding results, and communicating also the insights. We need to use a statistical tool for presenting the data, in order to make the data understandable for all people. That is not completely easily. So we have to use, for example, some visualization tools or summary statistics in order to translate complex data into a very easy way, just for doing an example. Or for me, another important reason should be that we need to make decisions. And we have to determine, for example, the market trends, or eventually also the customer preferences, because we have to make the company to do decisions, because they are relevant for them, in order to understand if, for example, the people are changing their preferences in buying something. So they have to update their advertisement. And also statistics also used when we want to evaluate, for example, the performance of models on an algorithm. I just think, for example, of banks, because they have to give money, and so they need models, algorithm, in order to be sure that people give back the money. So they have to use some accuracy measure, for example, AUC or I don't know, a correct classification rate or whatever, F1 score, in order to check if the model that they are using for evaluating the credibility of the clients is good or not. So this is just from my point of view, some of the reasons for which statistics remains very important in our life.
So, Marialuisa, you probably have noticed many schools, universities have come up with this business analytics or advanced analytics type of programs like master's degree, and it's more about learning the tools and analyzing the data. Like, do you have any thought on those types of programs?
Well, I think that at the moment we have different level of knowledge for the statistics. Okay, so we have a basic, very very preliminary level of knowledge. Okay? For example, in economics, they only study inferential statistics, but for example, they in some courses they do not students do not learn, for example, how to programming and how to estimate something. Instead, if you study statistics and at a different level of the degree, because we have the first level of the degree and then also the master course and so, well, the knowledge of statistics can be improved according to the level of the graduation. In fact, for example, in Italy, at the bachelor degree, they study the first knowledge, so the preliminary level of statistics and programming. And then in the master course, they study artificial intelligence, Bayesian statistics, and more complex methods and analysis and techniques. And they also during the bachelor degree, they also learn how to read the data, how to collect the data. Okay. Because it is important. Sometimes the students have the data because the professor gave them the data. Okay, they are clean, they are perfect, and they can just analyze. But they have also to learn how to collect the data, and they also learn how could be difficult to collect the data, because they are dirty, they are missing data, and they have to understand which kind of missing data we have, how to treat them, if we have outliers, how to analyze the outliers, if they are influential information, if they have to delete, or if they have to analyze the influential information.
Okay. So, Marialuisa, what do you see for the future of statistics?
Well, the future of the statistics, in my opinion, should be vibrant and evolving. Okay, and also because we have some advancement in the technology, data science, and analytics techniques. And I just give you some key trends and development that can be defined the future of statistics. For example, I think about integration with advanced computing. For example, combining big data and cloud computing. Or for example, looking at high performance computing. Okay, just for give you, because as I said also before, the data volumes continue to grow, and so the statistical techniques should be integrated with the cloud computing platform in order to manage large data set. Otherwise, we cannot analyze the large data set, and big data especially. For example, I also mentioned high performance computing. Well, we need more and more intensive and complicated also data exploration, because it's well known that the first step in data analysis is how to explore the data in order to understand which data we have and which kind of analysis we can do with that data. Another important element from my point of view, if that we have, there is a possibility to group the non-parametric methods, because as we know that parametric methods needs some underlying assumption. Instead, using non-parametric methods, we don't have any kind of assumption, very relaxing assumption. So given the large amount of data, we need more flexible methods. Another, from my point of view, another crucial development is the personalization and the precision analytics, especially in healthcare. So we go back to the medicine in some way, but not only. In particular, there will be a rise in personalized analytics, where statistical methods can be used in order to have some insights and recommendation for individual needs. So we have to use statistics in order to capture the particular characteristics of a patient in that moment. Just for give you some example. And the last point, in some way, I think that is some sense also the more important, is the career perspective. Because for students, so if the students want to study statistics, I think that they could find very easily a good job, especially in the last 10 years. This is my point of view.
I want to ask you a personal question. Your all 3 degrees, your undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral degrees, focus on statistics, and I think that you've been professional in this area for more than 20 years, researching and teaching. What draw your interest to study statistics?
Thank you very much for your question. Well, my first interest in the study statistics was during high school. And when I had to choose what I had to study at the university, well, statistics course was not in my town, so in my city. It was very far from here, and it's located in another city that is not very easy to reach. And so I chose to study economics in my university, where I met my supervisor, Michele La Rocca, and he was my professor, and I fell in love with the statistics. So thanks to him that I study statistics, and I continue my career in statistics. After that, I continued to work in the department with some research project, and after some years, I started my PhD studies. And during the PhD studies, I went to Lancaster University for a master course, where I met Hong Shen-Day, that was my supervisor for the master course thesis, and jointly with Michele La Rocca was also my supervisor for the PhD courses. So this is the reason why I studied statistics. And so and then after that, I'm still in contact with Hong Shen-Day because I'm working with him still now. And he's like a friend now. He's not only my supervisor. And now we are working on different projects. And for example, with Hong Shen, we are working on the survival analysis and multi-state models. With Michele and another colleague, Marcella Niglio, we are working on unbalanced data set, and so how statistical models can be used for manage unbalanced data set. This is another topic, for example. And there are other many different projects that I'm working on, because I don't like to focus only on one project, but I want to work with many different topics. And well, I can say that I feel very happy, and especially I'm very lucky because I love my job. I'm always in contact with the young people, with the students, and I can study what I like. But the job is not without difficulties.
Yeah.
So because I don't have a fixed time, sometimes I have to work during a holiday or during a weekend because they have that deadlines, but it doesn't matter. I just want to mention what Confucius said: choose a job you love because you will never have to work a day in your life. And this is my opinion for my job.
Wonderful, Maria Lucas. Generally, people think statistics is a hard subject or is perceived to be a hard subject, and many students struggle with statistics. Why is that?
Well, I don't know the point of the students, or better, for me, it's difficult sometimes to understand their point of view for the people that don't like statistics, because I love statistics. But I think that statistics is considered difficult because, for example, from students, because they heard that the statistics is difficult. For example, the one problem should be the attitude that the students have in mathematics, and so maybe the students should not have a good professor that give them the opportunity to understand the mathematics. And then you know also that sometimes statistics is have some complicated concept. For example, think about statistical inference. When you introduce a statistical inference to students, their face is blank because they don't understand, because it's quite abstract for them.
Yeah.
Or, for example, statistical distribution, sample distribution, statistical significance. What means that the results is not statistical significance? So they are, for them, it's quite complicated.
The p value is not 0.05.
Yes. But then another important, but I think that in order to give the opportunity to understand that statistics is important, we have to give them some examples. In fact, when I teach in economics, in the economics class, I say, think about that you live with the statistics, and I give them some examples. For example, when you have to choose to go out with your friends, and you have to choose the restaurant or the pub, what do you look? Well, I go to the booking, I go to the TripAdvisor, okay, and what do you see? The stars. Behind the stars, there is statistics.
Yeah.
So it's important to give them some examples in order to understand that statistics is not only concept, but you can use it for your life.
Yeah, for sure. So carrying on this subject of statistics, Marialuisa, what is your advice to students who wish to study statistics?
Well, I think that we live in a complex world.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have many needs and many problems. And so we have to make a decision every day, every moment in our life. What to do, how to do that, when, why, and so on. And so we can choose randomly of eventually we can use some statistical methods, or eventually we can also use some preliminary information. So we collect information and in order to make an accurate decision. So study statistics, from my point of view, means that we can acquire tools for studying and analyzing reality. And so this is important to give this meaning to the people. So we can choose when we know the fact, because otherwise we can make a wrong decision. So students should learn that statistics can be used also when they have to plan their budget. If they live without family, so in a town for the university, they can manage their budget. Or, for example, they have also to determine the best route for travel. Or, for example, when they have to choose which university they have to choose, well, they can understand that they can use statistics from my point of view. There are many different strategies, and the list should be very long in order to say that there are some possible suggestions. And from my point of view is that we have to give practical application. So don't teach only theoretical statistics, but practical statistics. So try to combine the theoretical part with the practical part. So use the real data, real problem, and find out the best statistical tools for making the good decision in that context. Just for giving as an example.
Thank you for this wonderful advice, Marialuisa. Appreciate that. So, what is next for you, Marialuisa?
For the future, in the job or in private life?
Whatever you want to share. Future, current research, your academic plan, your volunteer work, your collaboration, editorial work. You do so many things.
Yes, first of all, I want to finish all the projects that I am going to. Just to mention that I have 2 projects with Hongsheng and that I have to finish. Then another project with Michele and Marcella on statistical models on unbalanced data. Another project on Erasmus data, for example, with the colleagues Christian Brenitz from the from International School of Social and Business Studies in Slovenia, Giancarlo Ragozzini from University of Naples, and Maria Prosperina Vitale from my same university. Then they have another project with education. So I had to finish this kind of models before starting other project.
Never-ending project.
No, I don't know how to do that. But anyway, this is the first goal until the end of this year. Then my future, I think that should be that I want to increase, it's not good, but I want to enlarge my network. So I want to meet new people because I think that exchange knowledge and the project and ideas is important for my job. And this is for the job. And I don't want to think about my future career because I think that in the future I'll become full professor, but I don't want to think about that until I'm ready for becoming that. And but also because I want to combine my job with my private life, and because I have many hobbies, so when I have time. For example, I love cooking. And my friends and also my family say that I'm a good cook, so it's okay. And especially I cook pasta, bread, pizzas. And I help also a voluntary association by cooking. And this association helps the homeless in my town. So 2 times a month I cook for them, and we go around the town and give them the lunch, the dinner. And I also like knitting and macrame. This is just for my hobbies. And then the last part of the last point, and I think that is the most important part of my life, is my husband and my family.
Wonderful.
My husband Paolo and my family, my large family. So
wonderful.
That's it.
Thank you for your time, Marialuisa, and best wishes on the important work you do.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.